It was a clash of titans, a showdown between two formidable forces. We're talking about the game and 50 Cent. With diss tracks hotter than the sun and tensions that could ignite a powder keg, this is the story of the game versus 50 Cent. Who dominated? Alright, so check it out. Back in the early 2000s, 50 Cent, whose real name is Curtis Jackson, was about to take the rap world by storm. His journey to stardom kicked off when he inked a deal with the Shady Aftermath imprint. Now, what's that, you ask? Well, it's like this. Shady Aftermath was a powerhouse collaboration between two major record labels, Eminem's Shady Records and Dr. Dre's Aftermath Entertainment. Now, Eminem, who had a knack for spotting talent, played a pivotal role in bringing 50 Cent into the fold. Now, let's shift our focus to the game, shall we? In the early 2000s, Dr. Dre, the legendary producer and rapper, had his eyes set on reviving the West Coast hip-hop scene. So he was scouting out for a talented West Coast artist to carry the torch and bring the region back to its former glory. And lo and behold, in 2003, he stumbled upon a demo from a budding West Coast rapper, The Game. Now, little did he know that this encounter would shape the course of hip-hop history. So let's fast forward just a little bit, and here comes the interesting part. Now, at this point, 50 was already a star in the making, and G-Unit, his rap crew, was dominating the scene. See, Dre had this brilliant idea. What if they brought The Game into G-Unit? So this would be the missing piece to their musical puzzle, a West Coast artist to complement their East Coast dominance. So they decided to make it happen. But before the world fully got to know The Game, he was quietly making appearances in various G-Unit music videos. Now, you might not have noticed him back then, but he was there, blending into the G-Unit family. You can spot him in music videos like In the Club and Wanna Get to Know You. And if you squint hard enough, you'll see a glimpse of the man who would later become a hip-hop icon. Now, let's talk mixtapes for a moment, alright? 50 Cent and G-Unit had a knack for dropping fire mixtapes, and they didn't hesitate to introduce The Game to this gritty underground world of rap. The Game made his debut on G-Unit's mixtape series, G-Unit Radio, starting with G-Unit Radio Part 3, taking it to the streets. See, back in the day, these mixtapes served as a breeding ground for artists to build their buzz and gain recognition, and The Game was right in the mix, honing his skills and making his presence known. See, this is where The Game's rap journey really took off back in 2005. He dropped his highly anticipated debut album, The Documentary. Now, this album was a big deal, not just for him, but for the entire hip-hop world. It was a West Coast masterpiece that showcased The Game's lyrical prowess and his ability to revive the West Coast rap scene. The documentary was packed with iconic tracks and marked The Game as a force to be reckoned with. Now, one of the tracks that stood out like a sore thumb was West Side Story. Now, this joint featured 50 Cent himself and was released as a single to hype up the album. It was like a declaration of The Game's West Coast pride and a statement that he was here to represent. Now, West Side Story was lit, and ain't no doubt about it, but it also foreshadowed the stormy times ahead as tension started to brew. If West Side Story was a warm-up, then How We Do was the knockout punch. This single was an absolute smash hit and was a beast, and catapulted The Game into mainstream stardom. Now, featuring both The Game and 50 Cent, it was a powerhouse track that dominated the airwaves. Yo, it was a crazy successful single that had everyone talking, but it also added fuel to the fire of their brewing feud. Now, let's get to the juicy part. I'm talking about the tension. So, it all began with 50 Cent, who was also working on his own album, The Massacre, had to delay its release. Why? Well, because The Game wanted his album to drop first. Now, this raised some eyebrows and led to some behind-the-scenes discord. Now, 50 Cent wasn't too thrilled about delaying his project for The Game, and this was the start of the cracks in their camaraderie. As if the delay wasn't enough, The Game's attitude started shifting. He began to distance himself from G-Unit and even stopped wearing G-Unit clothing. But what really had 50 Cent was when The Game publicly declared that he had no problems with some of 50's rap foes like Nas, Jadakiss, and Fat Joe. This did not sit well with 50, who had ongoing issues with these very artists. Now, see, to 50, it was a clear sign that The Game was veering off course and setting him apart from the G-Unit family. So after the game's album dropped, he embarked on an overseas tour to promote it. Now here's where it starts to heat up. While he was overseas, he made some pretty controversial comments, most notably saying, "Man, fuck Jay-Z." Yeah, you heard that right, that's a big deal in the hip-hop world, and it did not sit well with 50, who didn't want any beef with Z. Yo, but it gets better. It didn't stop there, right? The game also declared that he had no problems with 50 Cent's rap enemies, including Nas, Jadakiss, and Fat Joe. Now, that's like waving a big red flag in front of a bull. But here's where it gets even murkier. Enter Jimmy Henchman. Jimmy, who was the game's manager at the time, seemed to play a role in manipulating the game and steering him towards this confrontational path. It's like he saw an opportunity to stir the pot for his own benefit. Then to top it all off, they went and shot the Hate It or Love It music video together, where you could practically cut the tension with a knife. This public confirmation of the growing rift between 50 Cent and the game was like a bombshell in the hip-hop world, and it was clear that things were spiraling out of control fast. So the beef didn't just fizzle out. It raged on with major incidents, diss tracks, and public exchanges. They went at each other like heavyweight champs in the ring, with tracks like 300 Bars and Runnin' from the game and Piggy Bank from 50 Cent becoming iconic diss tracks that had fans and the media buzzing. But this beef wasn't just confined to the studio. It had real-world consequences. See, it affected both artists' careers, right? Like the game's rise to stardom and 50 Cent's continued dominance in the rap game. Now, as for who gained the upper hand in this battle, well, that's still to this day a giant matter of debate. Now, some say the game held his own with his lyrical prowess, while others argue that 50 Cent's relentless barrage of disses gave him the edge and the upper hand in the short term. But as for the long-term impact, well, man, see, that's where things start to get a little interesting and a little murky. Ultimately, both artists carved out their own legacies. They stood up, they made a name for themselves, with the game finding success as a solo artist and 50 Cent making waves in various entertainment ventures beyond music. So the big question of who dominated in the end? Well, that's the question that still stirs debate among hip-hop heads. But one thing's for sure, right? This beef left an indelible mark on the history of rap. And now that you know all the ins and outs of the feud between the game and the man himself, 50 Cent, comment down below who you think came out on top. Yo, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Y'all been coming back for more. Don't do us dirty like that, man. Don't leave us hanging, right? Because we got more captivating stories from the world of music and beyond coming up. So as always, thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you in our next video. Be there.